Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. National security alert state raised to amber as the nation mourns the loss of former Law Association President and State Prosecutor Senior Counsel Dana Sitahal. The Prime Minister extends heartfelt condolences to the family of a fallen national icon whom she regarded as a dear friend and colleague and one of the nation's best and brightest daughters. And former Prime Minister and President Arthur N.R. Robinson is laid to rest in the sister isle of Tobago. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Bissessar SC has sent her condolences to the family and friends of Senior Counsel Dana Sitahal. The Prime Minister wished them on behalf of the nation God's blessings and guidance in this time of deep grief and loss.
The legal profession, and indeed our country and region, have lost a truly remarkable daughter of Trinidad and Tobago. This, according to Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Bissessar SC, in a release following the murder of Senior Counsel Dana Sitahal. The Honourable Prime Minister said the Senior Counsel's tragic passing on Sunday morning brings to an end the work and life of a legal and academic giant whose contributions to our nation were far from complete. She regarded her as a dear friend and colleague and one of the nation's best and brightest daughters. As Prime Minister, Mrs. Bissessar said she is resolutely committed to meeting the viciousness with which Dana Sitahal's brilliant life was cut down on the terms she would have wanted and fought for so courageously and fearlessly for every day. The Honourable Prime Minister has enjoined with the Minister of National Security to ensure that every resource of the law enforcement machinery of the state is utilised in relentless pursuit of apprehending those involved in the murder. The Prime Minister has also convened an emergency meeting of the National Security Council, of which she is the head, and further spoke with the Honourable Chief Justice Ivor Archie, following which they agreed to meet in order to devote urgent attention to necessary reforms in the criminal justice system and security issues connected therewith. As a lawyer, Dana Sitahal's success and the high regard she earned from her colleagues were testaments to her determination to boldly uphold and defend the rule of law. As a former independent senator, she demonstrated the highest principles and values of independent thinking grounded in her love and passion for the future of our country. The Senior Counsel also served her country and our citizens as a magistrate, as president of the Law Association, as a state prosecutor, and as Assistant Solicitor General. She was also a leading advocate for education and as a Fulbright scholar and lecturer at the Hugh Woodin Law School became a guiding light to many young graduates. Ms. Sitahal earned a sterling reputation as a leading opinion maker on national issues of law, constitution and criminal justice, and according to the Honourable Prime Minister, for the role she played in parliamentary, legal and national leadership, she will always be remembered fondly. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Meanwhile, a statement from the Ministry of National Security has indicated that the national alert state has been raised to amber. This comes as the ministry seeks to ensure that the perpetrators responsible for the murder of Senior Counsel Dana Sitahal are swiftly brought to justice.
The Ministry of National Security has taken a firm position in bringing to justice the persons involved in the murder of Senior Counsel Dana Sitahal and other deviant individuals who continue to plague this country. In light of this recent incident, the Minister of National Security, Senator the Honourable Gary Griffith, has launched all-out operations to ensure that these perpetrators are swiftly brought to justice. Minister Griffith wishes to advise that, with consultation with the National Security Council, the national alert state has been raised to amber. The minister is empathetic in his statements that there would be no stone left unturned in this investigation. He reiterated the fact that the government, through the Ministry of National Security, has pledged every resource necessary to the law enforcement machinery of the state and together have collectively given this the highest priority. Minister Griffith has immediately called for the following: a meeting of all the intelligence agencies' heads to utilize all mechanisms of intelligence on this matter, electronic communications and human, a joint heads of security meeting to collate and optimize maximum support of all units, their assets and expertise to be deployed in full tactical readiness in support of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, increased air, land and maritime patrols in all areas of interest, stop and search teams and increased roadblocks, all citizens to abide, cooperate and be tolerant of law enforcement officers in the execution of their duties, all citizens to assist the law enforcement agencies by passing information and reporting any suspicious activity related to the murder of Dana Sital SC, citizens in the strictest of confidentiality to call emergency numbers 511, Police 999, Crime Stoppers 800-8477 and the National Operations Center at 627-0408, the utilization of the private security network to maximize ground support to law enforcement, and finally the CCTV footage of all facilities, private, business, residential and national, would be thoroughly examined to track and investigate this crime. The national security experts of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and the National Operations Center have already started this process. Minister Griffith has emphasized that it would not be business as usual and the criminal community would feel the full brunt of law enforcement and the forces of national security regarding this matter. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
The public funeral service for late President Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson at the Dwight York Stadium was a true Tobago celebration for their Castara boy. A fitting tribute as Mr. Robinson's love for his country and Tobago in particular will always be remembered. Hundreds of people came out to attend the service, which formed part of the 5-day state funeral, which began on Tuesday in Trinidad.
Among those in attendance were President Anthony Carmona, Chief Justice Ivor Archie, Senate President Timothy Hamill-Smith, House Speaker Wade Mark, Prime Minister Kamla Bissessar, a number of cabinet ministers, Opposition Leader Dr. Keith Rowley, Acting Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams, and Chief of Defence Staff Major General Kenrick Maharaj. A private service followed the ecumenical service, after which late President Robinson was taken to the Scarborough Methodist Cemetery via military procession for interment. A number of Tobagonians congregated at the corner of Main and Bacalet Street to see the motorcade following the ceremony. Mr. Robinson's casket was placed on a gun carriage, together with members of the security forces, including the Defence Force Band, Girl Guides, Brownies, Scouts, and young members of the Red Cross, all lined the sides of Bacalet Street and saluted the carriage. A crowd of people joined the funeral parade, followed the carriage to the Scarborough Methodist Cemetery, where they gathered on the outskirts, as movement within the grounds was heavily restricted. Robinson's family and dignitaries stood on a large platform. There were cheers and claps from the crowd as the casket was brought into the cemetery. The booming gun salute startled many citizens. The crowd joined in with singing gospel songs as the grave was being prepared for the final burial. Former President and Prime Minister Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson was buried in the same grave as his wife, Patricia, who died in 2009.
News 4 continues right after the break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. President of the American Chamber of Commerce of Trinidad and Tobago, Hugh Howard, commended the students who participated in AmCham's 5th National Youth Productivity Forum held at the Hilton Trinidad Ballroom. Mr. Howard said he was impressed with their coherence and ability to explain the points researched.
The American Chamber of Commerce of Trinidad and Tobago, AmCham's 5th National Youth Productivity Forum, put the spotlight on students from 4 schools: the North Gate College, St. Augustine, Presentation College, Chaguanas, Cohen Hamilton Secondary School, Moruga, and Irie High School in Siparia. The 4 teams represented the positions of different sectors in society: the civil society, business sector, the labor sector, and government. Their topic of discussion was crime and security. Speaking at the event, AmCham's president, Hugh Howard, said over the last 5 years, they've seen development in terms of presentation, discussions, and students taking time to do research. He said often you hear of men being inarticulate, and this is why they get into crime. But Mr. Howard noted that the boys who took part in the forum were able to well articulate their views in the same vein as the girls. He said despite challenges regarding funding, AmCham will keep the program going.
Despite the challenges with funding and full commitment from some schools for the NYPF, AmCham will continue to pursue the initiatives as we need to see a well-rounded generation of employees, entrepreneurs, politicians, businessmen, etc., who are committed to productivity and development of the country.
Mr. Howard said in each of their opening statements, the student teams displayed maturity and depth of knowledge while describing ways in which crime could be stopped. Felicia Wilson-Moore, News 4.
When we come back, we tell you all about Trinidad and Tobago's elite athletes. Stay with us. Trinidad and Tobago's elite athletes are proving they have what it takes to bring home medals at this year's Commonwealth Games with winning performances in last Friday's International Twilight Games at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. Olympic gold medalist Keyshawn Walcott, Olympic silver medalist Richard Torpedo Thompson, and shot putter Cleopatra Borrell, all competing in their respective events, achieved a proud home soil victory.
Cheered on by their supporters, local elite athletes dominated the events with decent performances at Friday's International Twilight Games. The invitational meet saw more than 100 athletes, including 30 foreign athletes, compete in 16 track and field events. 2008 Olympic silver medalist Richard Thompson, coming off an injury last year, continues to improve, and his performance in the men's 100-meter sprint is evidence of his progress. Thompson won in a time of 10.1 seconds ahead of Guyana's Adam Harris, who ran 10.23, and fellow TNT sprinter Darrell Brown, who finished in a time of 10.31 seconds to take third place. Trinidad and Tobago were unable to replicate that success in the women's equivalent, with the top two spots taken by foreigners, while Trinidad and Tobago managed third place on the podium. American Tawana Meadows took top spot in the women's 100-meter in 11.18 seconds. Jade Bailey of Barbados took silver in 11.37 seconds, and TNT's Kamaria Durant's time of 11.46 seconds meant she finished with a bronze medal. TNT also had to settle for third in the men's 200-meter, with foreigners taking the top two podium spots in this race as well.
200-meter open as they come around the top third. Reverse, Sweden Hewitt. Once again, Perez of Cuba. And Perez of Cuba brings them into the straight. It's Perez from Sweden Hewitt. It's Perez of Cuba. He's going to take this one comfortably. Finishing fast without leaving.
Cuban Roberto Perez won the 200-meter in a time of 20.37 seconds, with Charles Clark of the United States second in 20.66, and TNT's Kyle Grove third in 20.72. Trinidad and Tobago regained some pride in the men's 110 meters hurdles as Olympian Michael Thomas took home the gold on home soil.
The start of the high hurdles, the 110 hurdles for men. And out in the middle, it's Michael Thomas.
Thomas took the gold in 13.47 seconds, with Cuba's Johannes Cardenas placing second in 13.61 seconds, while Andrew Brunson of the United States took third spot with a time of 13.87 seconds. Moving from the track onto the field, Keyshawn Walcott, making his first local appearance for the 2014 season, easily won the javelin event.
Here he comes.
Keyshawn threw 78.03 meters in his first throw, but went on to better it with a winning throw of 79.33 meters. Cuba's Osmani Gonzalez threw 74.78 meters to claim second place, while 18-year-old Shaquille Waith, who will compete alongside Walcott for Trinidad and Tobago at the upcoming Commonwealth Games, placed third with a 71.15 meter throw. Many of the athletes used the Twilight Games Invitational Meet to gauge their progress as part of warm-up preparations for the upcoming Commonwealth Games 2014. The Games will take place in Scotland from July 23rd to August 3rd, 2014, and judging from the performances of our athletes at the Games on Friday, Trinidad and Tobago will have a lot to celebrate in 3 months' time. Gregory McBurney, News 4 Sports.
When we come back, cooking with confidence for every occasion. Stay with us. The Trinidad and Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute has been making an outstanding contribution to the development of culinary professionals. The Institute's Executive Director, Dr. Patricia Butcher, says she welcomes the finished product after invariable setbacks. Speaking at the second informal launch of the book, Cooking with Confidence for Every Occasion, Dr. Butcher praised the efforts of all those who worked tirelessly to complete the book.
I recall my dream when I thought of our institution developing a cookbook. And I remembered speaking to Rafael Medina, one of our program heads, and talking about the possibility of the development of this cookbook. And Rafael warmed up to the idea, and because we had such exceptional talent passing through our hallowed walls, we felt that we could do the job. However, what happened over the years was that the cookbook dragged on. We had several program heads coming into the position, and somehow the project would stall. So we were not able to do it in the time frame that I would have liked it done.
Dr. Butcher thanked members of staff Michelle John and Michaela Pinko, as well as others at the Institute for the extra work invested to get the book done. She said they can now boast of a superior product.
We can now boast of a quality product that I'm sure would be appreciated by many food lovers and persons wishing to demonstrate their cooking skills, both at home and abroad. What I appreciate as well is the nutritional facts in the cookbook. And we've also the food and the beverages that have been included.
Meanwhile, specially invited guest Senator the Honorable Gerald Hadid, Minister of Tourism, was on hand to collect his very own copy of the new book. In a later address, he agreed with sentiments that Trinidad and Tobago has its own identity and its citizens must be proud to share that. The minister said Trinidad and Tobago must create its own niche market.
This brings me back to all of our children that we train here and all of our children who have become quality people in the industry. How do we keep promoting them and developing them and giving them the opportunities? We must create for ourselves a niche market. And I propose today, I'm just throwing out an idea. The world needs content. So what we must try to do is we have to try to develop our content, which is valuable. Our content in the Calypso arena, in the soca arena, in the carnival arena, in anything, the content is here. We have so much of content, but it's not exported, and it's the most valuable asset that we have in a country.
Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. Remember, you can view a repeat of our newscast weekdays at 6 a.m. and feel free to visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/RTV. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.